It is known as the world's most perfect cone, a colossal pyramid of earth and rock, so geometrically precise it looks less like a feature of nature and more like a monument built by forgotten gods. For centuries, Mayon Volcano has stood as a symbol of serene, symmetrical beauty in the Philippines. But that symmetry is a lie. It is a carefully constructed mask hiding a chaotic and violent heart. And right now, that heart is beating faster than it has in years. Something strange is happening deep beneath the surface. The mountain is alive, and it is breathing. Have you ever seen a volcano in person? Let me know in the comments below. In a way that defies simple explanation, the entire volcanic edifice is warping in real time. Sophisticated instruments have detected the main body of the volcano actually deflating, sinking ever so slightly, while its northeastern flank is simultaneously inflating, swelling outward like a held breath. It's a geological paradox, a sign of immense and complex forces at work miles below. Magma isn't just pushing up, it's migrating sideways, sloshing through an unseen network of subterranean chambers. Real quick, an enormous number of people who watch these deep dive documentaries often forget to subscribe. If this kind of investigation is something you find valuable, hitting that subscribe button is the single most important way you can support this channel, and make sure you never miss what we uncover next. It's truly an emergency for us, and it takes you just 1 second. Please, do it now. You won't regret it. Alright, let's begin. As of May 2024, this strange underground activity has pushed the official alert status to level 3, signaling significant magmatic unrest. This isn't just a technical warning, it's a legal order. The Philippine Institute of Volcanology and Seismology, or PHIVOLCS, under the leadership of its director, Teresito C. Bacocol, has drawn a line in the sand. More accurately, a circle on the map, a strict ban on any human entry into the 6-kilometer radius permanent danger zone is in full effect. This zone isn't arbitrary. It's a red line calculated from centuries of death and destruction, a perimeter dictating where the mountain's fury is most likely to strike, without warning. Enforcing this ban falls on the shoulders of local leaders like Albay's governor, Edsel Greco-Lagman, who is now responsible for the lives of nearly 200,000 people living in the volcano's shadow. The unrest didn't begin overnight. It was a slow crescendo that started in January 2024. Subtle tremors, a slight swelling of the ground, and a faint increase in gas emissions were the first whispers of the giant stirring. But on May 1st, the whisper became a shout. Sulfur dioxide emissions, a key indicator of fresh magma rising from the depths, surged to an average of 2,147 tons per day. This was the chemical signature of a volcano preparing to act. The magma was no longer miles deep. It was near the surface, and the pressure was building to a breaking point. And then, on May 2nd, the breaking point arrived. But it wasn't the classic cinematic explosion many imagined. It was something far more insidious. At the summit, a dome of viscous heavy lava that had been slowly growing for weeks became too large, too unstable. A massive section of it simply broke off under the force of its own weight. This was a collapse-fed eruption. The falling rock, superheated to hundreds of degrees, didn't just tumble down the slope. It pulverized itself upon impact, instantaneously creating a superheated, fast-moving avalanche of gas, ash, and volcanic rock. This is a pyroclastic density current, or PDC. This is the volcano's most efficient and terrifying killer. The local people of the Baikal region have known of this specific danger for centuries, long before modern science gave it a technical name. They call it the uson. It's a word that carries the weight of ancestral fear, a name for a gray ghost that moves at hurricane speeds, incinerating every single thing in its path. There is no outrunning an uson. This current of pure destruction tore down the volcano's southwestern slopes, channeled perfectly by a deep ravine known as the Mi-isi gully. It slammed into the agricultural lowlands, targeting the municipalities of Camalig, Guinobatan, and Ligao City. Thick, choking ashfall blanketed towns and farms, turning the vibrant green landscape into a monochrome gray wasteland. The immediate chaotic response was a testament to the imminent danger. The order was given to evacuate. Before we go any deeper into the chaos that followed, I'm curious what you think is causing this strange breathing phenomenon happening under the volcano. Drop your theories in the comments. What followed May 2nd was a humanitarian crisis on a staggering scale. The National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, the NDRRMC, began coordinating a colossal logistical operation. By May 6th, The numbers were grim and growing. Official data from agencies like ECHO, the European Civil Protection and Humanitarian Aid Operations, confirmed that 199,367 people across 124 villages, or barangays, were directly affected by the eruption's fallout. More than 14,000 of them had to abandon their homes, their farms, their entire lives, cramming into makeshift emergency evacuation centers. 132 schools were shut down, either because they were in the direct path of danger or because they were converted into temporary shelters, their classrooms filled not with students, but with displaced families. The Department of Social Welfare and Development, the DSWD, scrambled to provide food, water, and sanitation for the thousands now living in limbo. But as relief efforts were underway, the Earth delivered another shock. On May 4th, just 2 days after the PDC event, a powerful magnitude 6.0 tectonic earthquake struck in the sea south of the volcano, off the coast of eastern Samar. For the scientists at PHIVOLCS, this was a deeply concerning coincidence. Could a major tectonic shift, hundreds of kilometers away, have an effect on Mayon's volatile magma chamber? The science is complex, but it is plausible. A powerful seismic wave passing through the crust can act like a vigorous shake to a can of soda, causing dissolved gases within the magma to suddenly form bubbles, a process called nucleation. This can dramatically increase the pressure inside the magma chamber, potentially squeezing it like a sponge and forcing more magma towards the surface. Was this distant earthquake the final squeeze that accelerated the events at Mayon? Or was it merely a terrifying coincidence? A reminder that the entire region rests on an unstable geological knife edge. The answer remains buried beneath miles of rock, but the question hangs heavy over every decision being made. If you're learning something new about this incredible force of nature, do me a quick favor and hit that like button. And if you know someone who'd find this story as fascinating as you do, share it with them. It genuinely helps our channel reach more curious minds just like yours. While the world's attention was on the evacuees, the volcano itself continued its relentless activity. The eruption wasn't a single event, but an ongoing process. Nightly, the summit crater glowed an ominous red, a visible sign of the molten rock just beneath the surface. And the lava wasn't staying put. It began to spill over the crater rim, not in a fast-moving flood, but in a slow, effusive crawl. 3 primary gullies became channels for these rivers of rock. By mid-May, the lava flow in the Basud Gully had stretched 3.8 kilometers from the summit. In the Banga Gully, it had reached 3.2 kilometers. And in the Mi-isi Gully, the site of the May 2nd PDC, a new flow was already 1.7 kilometers long. This slow effusion created an even greater danger. The growing lava dome at the summit was becoming a ticking time bomb. The sheer instability of this massive pile of cooling rock was evident in the seismic data. Between May 18th and 19th, PHIVOLCS recorded a spike in the number of daily volcanic earthquakes, from 20 to 31. But even more telling was the number of rockfall events. In the peak weeks of May, instruments detected anywhere from 287 to 428 rockfalls every single day. Each one represented a piece of the unstable summit dome breaking away, a constant rain of debris down the upper slopes. And each one carried the potential to be the big one, a collapse large enough to trigger another deadly high-speed uson. The mountain was actively crumbling. To truly understand what is unfolding at Mayon, we have to look deeper, not just into the earth, but back in time. The Kagsawa ruins, just a few kilometers from the modern city of Daraga, are perhaps the most haunting monument to Mayon's power. Today, only a single defiant stone belfry remains, reaching out of the ground, but this was once a magnificent Baroque church, the center of a thriving town. On February 1st, 1814, Mayon unleashed its deadliest recorded eruption. A cataclysmic blast sent a series of pyroclastic flows and lahars, volcanic mud flows, cascading down the slopes. Entire towns, including Kagsawa, were buried under a thick blanket of ash and rock. When the smoke cleared, an estimated 2,200 people were dead. Many had fled to the stone church for sanctuary, only for it to become their tomb. The belfry is all that remains visible, a silent, centuries-old witness to the fact that the very ground people stand on can become their grave. I know I've mentioned it, but I have to bring it up again because our analytics are practically in tears. If you've made it this far into the story, you are clearly one of our most dedicated viewers. So please, just take a second and check if you're subscribed. It's completely painless, I promise. and it will stop me from having to beg like this in our next video. The horror of 1814 wasn't an isolated incident. Mayon has erupted over 50 times in the past 400 years, making it the most active volcano in the Philippines. The danger hasn't faded with time. On July 22, 1968, a major explosive eruption caught many by surprise, killing approximately 124 people. This disaster underscored the desperate need for a better monitoring system. Even with modern science, the threat remains personal and profound. On February 2, 1993, a sudden eruption generated PDCs that killed 75 people. Tragically, many of the victims were farmers tending their fields inside the danger zone, along with volcanologists and journalists who had ventured too close, underestimating the volcano's terrifying speed. And the danger doesn't just come from eruptions. In December of 2009, Mayon wasn't even erupting. But Typhoon Durian brought torrential rains to the region. This water mixed with the thick layers of loose volcanic ash deposited by previous eruptions, instantly mobilizing it into a thick, fast-moving slurry with the consistency of wet concrete. These lahars swept down the river valleys, burying villages and killing over 1,000 people. This is the secondary threat that now looms over Albay. Every ton of ash that settles from the current unrest is a potential ingredient for a devastating lahar when the monsoon season inevitably arrives. This constant cycle of destruction and rebirth is what defines life around Mayon. The volcanic soil is incredibly fertile, a blessing that allows for the bountiful cultivation of coconut, rice, and abaca hemp. This agricultural richness is precisely why so many people live in such a dangerous place. They are gambling their lives against the mountain's whims for their livelihood. This duality is the central tragedy of Mayon. The ability to even have this conversation, to track the subtle breathing of the mountain and evacuate 14,000 people before a catastrophe, is a testament to a revolution in science. The monitoring of Mayon has evolved dramatically from the pioneering work of figures like Fr. Miguel Cedera Maso, a Spanish Jesuit priest who established the first systematic seismic monitoring in the Philippines in the early 1900s. He listened to the volcano with the most basic of instruments, documenting its rumblings with meticulous care. Today, PHIVOLCS operates a network of incredible sophistication, much of it established under the visionary leadership of former director Renato U. Solidum Jr., who now serves as an undersecretary for the Department of Science and Technology. This network includes a web of seismic stations that can pinpoint the location and depth of every tremor. It includes GPS stations and tilt meters, the very instruments that detected the paradoxical inflation and deflation of the mountain's surface. These devices measure ground deformation with millimeter accuracy, providing a direct window into the movement of magma below. They are so sensitive they can feel the mountain's pulse. International collaboration with agencies like the United States Geological Survey, USGS, and the Japan International Cooperation Agency, JICA, has been vital, bringing in advanced technology and expertise. Thermal cameras now stare unblinkingly at the summit, detecting temperature changes that signal rising lava. Gas sensors sniff the air for chemical clues like sulfur dioxide, and orbiting satellites watch from above, using radar to map ground swelling across the entire volcanic edifice. This is the arsenal of modern volcanology, all pointed at one mountain, all working to translate its violent language. This work builds on the foundational research of volcanologists like Dr. Chris Newhall, an American who studied Philippine volcanoes extensively and co-developed the Volcanic Explosivity Index, or VEI scale, which we use globally to measure the magnitude of eruptions. All of this technology brings us back to the central mystery of May 2024, the breathing mountain. The deflation of the main cone and the simultaneous inflation of the northeastern flank paint a picture of a complex, multi-chambered plumbing system. Magma is not just a single column rising to the surface. It's likely being stored in a shallow reservoir, and as it drains from one area to push into another, the ground surface above sinks and swells in response. It's like squeezing a water balloon on one side and watching the other side bulge. This horizontal migration of magma is a crucial clue. It could mean the system is preparing for a larger eruptive phase, pressurizing different parts of the structure. Or it could be a sign of the system stabilizing as pressure redistributes. The PhDs at PHIVOLCS are working around the clock to solve this puzzle because the lives of thousands depend on them getting it right. The most recent major eruption in 2018 provides a potential roadmap. That event, which reached alert level 4 and displaced over 100,000 people, lasted for approximately 3 months. If history is any guide, the residents currently in evacuation centers may be there for a very long time. They are caught between the immediate danger of the volcano and the slow-motion disaster of a lost harvest, a disrupted education,